Oh, wow. I got to put the microphone on. You can hear me better. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hear me better?
What?
Yeah, John. But you see, now I did want to talk to you after that, though, because, and we haven't had a chance until now, because you see that this is where spiral dynamics comes in handy. See?
I was going. It was. Oh, sorry. Here, go on.
I mean, John is clearly, just solid blue, just solid blue, and nothing's going to change him. So once you know that, you can relax. You don't have to get bothered by anybody from any level. I mean, it's just a waste of energy because they're solid. They're never going to change. I mean, maybe in 50 years, but
yeah. Well, I don't want to deny him that possibility, but I do think he would be much harder to sway his opinions than many people. But
98% of people don't change levels after like age 21. 98% of people don't change.
Yeah, well, changes. I think it's possible and it happens, and I feel like I've done it a handful of times, But it's it. Well, what bothered me the most was that I got bothered. It wasn't actually him. You know what I mean? Like like I think I kind of accused him of starting to lean you're going kind of to an anti-Semitic place if you're talking about who owns the media and the finances and stuff. And I wouldn't have assumed that he was going there if he hadn't have specifically asked Ivan, like, "Oh, are you a Jew too?" Like, and I don't know, just like, what does that have to do with? Anyways,
yeah.
Well, like last night, I wanted to get out of the house and I had a drink for the first time at a bar in a while. And I met these 3 guys, and they were bar folk, And but one of the guys, after we were talking, and it started getting interesting. I mean, you can only get so profound when alcohol is involved. But no, he kind of just let it out that he was an anti-Semite. He was like, "Oh yeah, fuck the Jews," and then he was like, and he was like, "Oh, I don't think the Holocaust happened," and I was like, I actually found this guy refreshing, like talking to an anti-Semite in person, like who was open about it, and he was like, if you hadn't have said you were a Jew, I wouldn't have even assumed and just been like, oh yeah, no, even after I told him I was a Jew and I told him, look, I don't like Judaism just because I'm ethnically a Jew. We had a civil, decent conversation about there's a difference between a race and a religion, The religion has kind of racial tones to it, considering you inherit it from your mother, and you're one of the people now, And anyways, no, and I got a chance to tell him, listen, I once came across conspiracy theories about Holocaust denial, and I thought they were interesting and had like weight to them. And then I looked deeper into it, and I bought a great book on it called The Holocaust on Trial, and he breaks it out. Talks about what historian mistranslated Hitler, how he was appealing to these guys, how basically discrediting all the arguments and saying, look, here's the people that were involved. These are, if you get to the bottom of it, it has to do with this guy, David Irving, a German historian, American World War II historian who deliberately mistranslated some of Hitler's words to basically enable a lot of these other conspiracy theories to happen. But anyways, he was interested. And I told him, listen, I wasn't there. I don't know what really happened, but I'm convinced it happened. Mm-hmm. Like there's a patent from a guy who built the ovens specifically to run on the juices left over of the people that were thrown in before. So it was an oven designed to keep burning off of the fuel for the fire was the people. Anyways, no, there's a patent for it. So I mean, I'm not. Anyways, yeah. So that guy was pleasant to talk to last night. So I had to really think about what was it that fucked with me about I guess his name's John. I only saw JP, but I think it was I was trying to relate to him because I've had anti-abortion arguments before. Like I once, for a short time, was like, "No, abortion isn't right," you know. And we had a good talk, and I thought about how my mom had one. I was like, after I changed my mind, one of the things that had to do with it was my mom, and I was just trying to relate to him. Like, listen, my mom had one. I don't think she's a bad person. And it was after I had mentioned that. I think what got to me was that after I said that, to try to like let him know, listen, you're kind of in the presence of people who could take it personally. You know what I mean? I was just trying to give that kind of tone to him, like, be careful how you moralize things. And it was after I said that he was like, well, I don't think your mother did the right thing. And I don't know. That's when I was like, oh my God, I think I mean, long story short, if we were in person, like outside a bar while I was working, and he would have been having that conversation with me, after I would have said, listen, my mom had an abortion, and I don't, I agree, I think it's murder, but I don't think it's wrong to let people not do it. Like, I don't know. I
Hmm.
I think, without being like a neuro chauvinist, to a certain extent, a mother has the right to, just like anyone does, to their body. If it's an unwanted life form, and I consider it alive, to some extent, but just but I'm still okay with it. Anyways, after I would have said that, if someone in person after that would have been like, "Well, your mother made the wrong choice," I would have decked him. I would have just punched him right in the face immediately. And I think that's what bothered me. Because, like, here's the thing. My mom once told me, when a kid was like, hey, your mom's a bitch, like in 5th grade or something stupid like that, she was like, so? Sticks and stones, I don't care. Why should you care? Why? Because I was a little kid and I cried, like, oh, you called you a bitch, mommy. And
Hmm.
so it wasn't even the fact that it could have been construed as him insulting my mother.
Hmm.
I think it was just so, you know what I mean? Like, I don't mind if you're going to talk crap about my mom. I felt like he needed manners that a good bloody nose would have cured, that's but so I think that what bothered me the most was that I couldn't just deck him real quick. And the thing is I can be friends with people that I deck too. like I'll deck you and then look at you, and as long as you're not going to come back and be like, do you understand why that happened? Like, I'm still willing to engage with you, as long as you know people have boundaries. I don't know. No, so it really bothered me that it bothered me. That was the biggest thing. So I had to do all kinds of, what was I expecting, or what did I want that you know what I mean? No, and and the thing is if I would have talked to him one on one, I feel like I could have had more. I don't know. It would have been easier for me to let things slide, or like stay on focus with him. I don't know. You know what I mean? If it was a one-on-one conversation, I feel like I could have been like, no, I see your point, and look, I get where you're coming from. There's other ways of looking at it. I don't look at it the way you look at it. I know to some extent I've got some common ground with him. You know what I mean? I know somewhere rattling in him, there's some overlap in our concerns. You know? But yeah, it did really bother me. A lot of the last week and a half or so have been getting in touch with my capacity to be zen. Yeah, and I feel like I've been zen. How are you doing?
Well, busier than I would like, actually, with everything. But anyway, well, yeah, there's a lot to talk about there. isn't there? Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but bless you for doing the internal work, because most people won't do that. And the fact that you take it as an opportunity to do some internal exploration, most people won't do that. But that's exactly what any event should be, is yeah, this is an opportunity. Explore your own internal landscape, see what's going on, and figure out, are you responding well? Are you responding? Does that reflect in some way on what's going on inside of you that you don't know about? Yeah, that's difficult work, and most people don't do that, but you do, and that's wonderful.
Well, I thank you. Uh, I know I don't have uh, values like the majority of people. So when I do reflect on myself for correction, it's usually not always in the same way someone else will, but someone else might. But
Yeah.
no, well, I mean, he hears me. He hears me talking. He wants in on the conversation. Do you hear him? Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Oh, shut up. What? Oh, shut up. Hold on. I'm gonna let him out. I'm just gonna... Shut up. Shut up. Come on. No. Who's talking? Yeah, he gets jealous if he's not a part of the conversation. But no, well, like I mean, I reflect on myself when I feel like I didn't act the way I wanted to with someone else. The way I want to act with someone else isn't always the way other people would want to act. Like because sometimes when I reflect, I think, no, I should have decked that guy, and I didn't. But most of the time I do it when I get upset, because like I can get animated, I can get excited, I can feel bad, like that sucks or like whatever. But it usually doesn't bother me. Like
Yeah,
I've got moods, but it usually doesn't get under my skin. So when something does, that's when I'm like, okay, I gotta look. There's something in me there's some raw nerve that got zinged.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and I actually don't know if I did completely weed it out. The best I could come to was that I think I was bothered most by the fact that I was bothered. Like I wish like if he were in person, I would have decked him. and I guess maybe I gotta like, I don't know, since I couldn't, it kind of ruined my my verbal game, I guess.
Well, okay, so let me explain. I just wasn't capable of doing anything right then. When I left, I went to sleep. I took a nap. I had to. I wasn't capable of doing anything right then. And yeah, I knew you were okay on your own, and I wouldn't have done that otherwise. But yeah, I just fell into bed, and I woke up. I saw you guys were still going, and yeah, I don't engage. John called in about a week later. Yeah, yeah, just don't engage. Just don't engage. When I come across a guy like that, yeah, don't engage. My goal with John is to stop the conversation and get rid of him as quickly as possible. And that's what I did. And he only spent like 15 minutes. And the way I did it, I just agreed with him. Whatever he said, I just agreed with. Oh, I agree. Yeah, I have no shame about that. I just want him out. I just want to get rid of him.
Well, I think a part of him wants resistance.
Yeah, I just gave him no resistance. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think he was looking for some kind of combat, some kind of intellectual combat,
Right. Yeah.
Which I'm okay with to a degree, as long as it's not, hey, I'm right. We need to talk about what I think is important to talk about. Which it's not that I didn't think any of the stuff wasn't important, but he was like, here's my worldview. Like, I don't know. Whatever. So did he call back and like into the next open forum or something?
Yeah, like the next week, and then but as soon as I kept agreeing with everything he said and giving him absolutely nothing he could work with, he only spent like 15 minutes there and then took off. And he was friendly about it. But yeah, my goal is to just get rid of him. Yeah, I mean it's just a waste of time to even engage with him. So, but that's because of okay, you call it Zen, but yeah, uh, understand that it's just a waste of time, and yeah, it's. What I think consolidated that, I'm kind of that way anyway, but consolidated that was spiral dynamics and integral, with knowing that, yeah, if anybody's going to advance a level, it takes a long time and 98% of people don't do it. So
well,
it's just not worth it.
actually, I had an interesting little theory about myself and the brain. I think so I had I went out for a drink yesterday, and I was feeling fine when I came back home. I wasn't drunk. I just had the edge off. I talked a little bit of politics with my mom. Uh, Told her what my view on what all this election bullshit is, what might happen, what might not, and how either way it's probably not going to be that big of a difference, unless of course there's some kind of civil war. But I don't think it would technically be a civil war. It'd be some uprising because Trump wanted to hold on to his election, but whatever. That's an interesting other conversation. But anyways, I was just telling her my view on things, and even then, I don't see much spectacularly changing this way or that, regardless of whatever happens. But something about it after that, I got just a splitting headache, and it was I have it. I used to get migraines a lot more when I was younger, and this was not the worst migraine, but it definitely crossed that threshold into a mild one.
Ah.
And it was weird because it reminded me of all the other migraines I've had in the past. And I actually think one of the ways that I've grown my brain is that my migraines have been the result of stressful and conflicting circumstances in life, and that when I'm going through a migraine, it is my brain growing the new circuits to integrate these conflicting parts of my life. So I actually feel like this migraine I had last night was the buildup of the past few weeks, and probably longer, of just a bunch of shit that's been rattling around in my mind. And once I actually had that epiphany, I was like, I think my brain's growing a new circuit. Like, I don't think I've got too many more opportunities for this in my life. So I feel like in the next 5 to 10 years, before my brain isn't as plastic as it is or was, I need to get those those important brain parts grown that I want. Otherwise, I'm not. It's not. It's gonna be harder to learn new things, new ways of living my life as I get older. You know. At least that's my opinion. I think brains are different, and they not all of them have the same capacity, and the capacity loses over time. That's just an informed opinion. I'm sure old dogs learn new tricks all the time. I just don't think they can learn as many as pups, or as easily. Anyways,
Hmm.
so yeah, I think I grew a new part of my brain that'll help me hopefully be a bit zenner. Well, so I had this to ask. You know, he mentioned something. He was saying, "Well, no one wants to talk about this stuff, and you try talking about it, people will censor you." And I was like, "Okay, well, listen, you're in good company. We talk about weird stuff here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
No one's muted you or kicked you out." And I told him that, like, you're not being censored, but just try to empathize with other people's frame of mind. You
Yeah.
know, we're not going to solve all the world's problems probably in just this one few hour talk online, you know. So it's okay. You don't have to. Anyways, what I thought about that is, I think you may have made me a co-host once before or a couple times before, And I just took it as I'm just going to let people talk. You know, I'm not going to be a moderator or anything, but I do feel like asking explicitly that if I were made co-host in the future again and you weren't there and I felt the need to, I would really like to mute someone like that, at least temporarily, and just say, hey, listen, I'm muting you for a bit. You're going off a
Yeah.
little bit longer on some kind of emotionally charged topics. You know, so I'll unmute you in a minute, but I just want to give you a chance to listen to what other people have to say on their point of view about it. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a nice way of going about it, but I definitely feel like I want to ask for that explicit permission to be as nice and gentle about it as possible. You know, like I would back it up with an explanation and an unmuting after a minute, but just like, hold on a second, buddy.
Yeah, go for it. I mean, I'm not even sure about the controls. The thing is mute, but I think you. Let's try it now. If I muted you, can you unmute yourself? Yeah, right. You see, you can unmute exactly.
Okay.
So,
Well, yeah.
But I think there might be a way. I'd have to look for it.
Like permanent mute or something.
Well, no, there was. You know, before Zoom, I was on TalkShoe, and I knew all the controls on TalkShoe. There was a way to mute people there, like permanently, where they couldn't control it. But no, you know, go for it. See, I don't know what you could do. I mean, you mute it. I mean, there's a way to remove somebody. You can just kick them out.
Yeah.
Just not admit them again.
Well, I want to give someone a chance.
Yeah, I know.
Like, hey, just like, hey, listen to some other people's perspectives. Let them respond to you for a little bit before you, because you know, it wasn't just him. I think like every other talk we've had, there's been someone who, you know, took up a annoying amount of what could have been more pleasant, possibly constructive or something conversation. You know, I don't know.
Yeah. I think relatively rare that something like that happens. It does happen, but it's relatively rare, I think.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I don't plan on abusing it, and I would only do that if I felt like,
yeah,
someone's sucking the air out of the room.
Yeah. But I am so glad you did say the word manners, because yeah, that's something. Well, specifically with John, yes, definitely needs to be brought up. Yeah, I mean, he's the guy that he is, isn't he? I mean, it has really very little to, well, this part of it has little to do with what the content of what he's saying, although that is part of it, but it's just the fact of who he is and the way he presents himself. Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
it seems like
you have anything to say about that?
Oh, he seems like he comes from a background where most of his
you get the impression that if he doesn't get exactly his way, the way he wants things, he's gonna throw a tantrum. You get that impression? He's just gonna scream and shout and carry on.
Well, that's why I was saying, you know, I feel like I would have had a more productive conversation with him if it were one-on-one. If it were just me and him talking, like, and there wasn't other people for him to have an audience and to, I don't know, play moral superiority or whatever. No, I feel like I could relate to him on each individual issue and be like, here, let's take some time. Okay, I agree with you where you're trying to go.
Yeah.
With that. You know, this is some resource or whatever.
Yeah, but what I mean is, don't you think he's on every second, he's on the verge of bursting out into tears, just bursting out into sobs. You know what I mean? He's one of those guys, you know? You don't get that impression?
I didn't get that impression. I kind of felt, I don't know. I imagine him as part of a.
He can't regulate his emotions.
I don't know. I actually imagine him as a spoiled kid in some, I don't know, well-knit Christian community that all kind of share very similar clone army values. And no, I don't know if I saw him on the verge of tears. I think in person I could easily bring him to tears. But I don't know. I don't know. He sounded spoiled, which I mean, I guess could be in real life situations. He's got a lot of disillusionment to go through.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like he gets out of his people with his worldview. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think he tries to get out of his worldview. Yeah. Nah.
No, he's not going to ever. And that's
Well,
most
so
of the people you're going to meet in the world.
I personally,
That's Rem. That's Ivan.
I personally don't
In
have
different ways.
I personally don't have the inclination to try to change his mind.
Yeah, exactly. No
Here's
reason.
the thing. The same way I could get an opportunity out of hey, I haven't been bothered in a while. This is a chance to check my exposed raw nerves, you know? So there was an opportunity that way. In another sense, I'm sure I could sharpen my sword with him for dealing with other people with similar and common values and styles.
Yeah.
But no, here's the thing. I think everyone can change. Everyone can. In fact, I think it's easier than people think. It's just if you could employ all means necessary. That's where my problem comes. So like, so I like the dog whisperer, Caesar Milan, you know, and I like other dog trainers, and I've looked into like a good handful of animal training, and you know, so you get what I'm saying. Like when you have a creature trapped in a corner, you know, and its food depends on you. You can change them. You can train them to do, you know, whether you want to call it like Patty, what is it, the Stockholm syndrome, like Patty Hearst, or captor bonding. No, you really can get anyone to, you know, 2 + 2 is 5, you know, but you have to have all the means necessary to do that. You have to be able to trap an animal in a corner, and let them know there's no escape, and that your food comes from me, and if you want food, you're going to have to jump through this hoop, you know, and you're going to have to sit.
What it would take.
Do what?
I know what it would take. It would take internal and external, subjective and objective. It would take all 4 of those things.
Yeah, well, I guess there's a saying in the army that you know, they talk about hearts and minds missions, you know, but not the army, but the military in general. But they say if you've got them by the balls, their hearts and their minds will follow, which isn't completely true. There are a small minority of people that are willing to endure you know, stoically external fucking adversities, but there's not many of those. There's not many people that can set themselves on fire or endure.
The core issue we're discussing right now is the question, how do people change? How do human beings grow? Now, that is the core question that's been asked for quite a long time. I'm not even going to say how long, but quite a long time. We have an entire branch of study dedicated to answering that very question, psychology. And psychology has been around for 150 years, roughly. And it's devoting itself to answering that specific question. And in 150 years, we don't have a good, I would say, a good answer to that question. How do people change? How do human beings grow? Get from level that they're at to a higher level? How does that happen? What's the mechanism? What's the formula? How does it work? We don't know. We're really, I think, just starting to begin to answer that question. After 150 years, we're just beginning to answer that.
Well,
you look at physical process, biochemical, neurological, physical stuff, diet, nutrition, exercise. You look at social, biological, political, economic. Is any of those the answer? They're not the answer. They're all part of the answer. It's all the jigsaw puzzle. You have to take all of them together and put them in the mix. And in all that, we've studied, every type of self-development, self-improvement, personal, everything that works, as far as I know, the only thing we know the thing that is the best thing that causes people to climb the ladder, the best thing that we know, I should say, is meditation. And meditation has a 30% success rate of success defined as you start at one level of development, and after a period of time, you can advance to another level, a higher level. Meditation has a 30% success rate. Now, that's not really very good, but that's actually better than anything else we've ever learned about. We don't know anything that's actually better than 30% success. We're just getting started on answering this question. How do you get human beings to change? And I'm telling you, my formula for it is all four. First, psychological, you get, whatever processes need to happen, therapy, whatever you need to do psychologically, and make sure they're on board motivationally. Diet, nutrition, exercise. Hey, don't scoff at that. That's important. Many reasons why. Social interaction, social support, a support system that will encourage them to grow, who hopefully, ideally, is themselves, the cohort is at a higher level to bring up the patient, and make sure the system, the political economic system in which they are embedded, will also support their growth. Now you have all four of those, and I'm willing to bet you get a lot of success. But who has all four of those? Well, but I'm saying that would be my formula.
Well, so
prove me wrong.
So,
and even that wouldn't succeed very much, but I think it's the best I could give you.
So this is why I
give me a better one if you've got one.
well, I agree with you, especially the last part of what you said. I do think we have figured out a lot about how people change. I just think a lot of people who have insights on it aren't all on the same page, and there isn't one like unified discipline of it. And I guess the other thing is
because kind of the same thing I just said.
Well, yeah, I'm agreeing with you. This is what I'm saying. Like when you talk about it, what you said at the end, if you were able to cover all of those quadrants, not just in this situation, but you had a whole environment to foster that change. It's called a total institution. It's where we got the word. I mean, I think Karl Popper. I think I might be getting it wrong. I think he's the one that coined the term because he was talking about an asylum, that it's a total institution, and that I think, and I might be wrong, but I think they extrapolated the term totalitarianism from that to say you're living in a totalitarian society if, in the same way that an asylum regulates totally all of your environment, a totalitarian regime
regulates
the totality of your behavior, your environment.
You want to. I don't mean to interrupt.
Go on.
You're getting to a point. You want to go over this very quickly? It's not that long. Here you go. 6 conditions needed for change. You can read this. Number 1, I'll give you the link. Number 1, you have to have the potential for change. Not every individual is capable of change. For a variety of reasons, change may be impossible. And I'll just very quickly, we'll go through this. And he talks about open, arrested, and closed. This is in the Spiral Dynamics book, by the way. 2, you need solutions to solve current and previous problems. Without solutions, you can't do anything. Number 3, there must be dissonance within the individual. Change does not occur unless the individual becomes uncomfortable, of course. You're not going to change something if you're comfortable. There has to be something that's causing you concern, causing you a discomfort.
Yeah, you can't manipulate happy people.
Okay. Number 4,
Yeah.
the barriers to change must be identified and overcome. I mean, you can't do anything unless you actually know what to do. You see there's barriers, obstacles. I'll let you read all this. Number 5, the individual must possess insight into the causes. Yeah, okay. Number 6, there must be consolidation and support during the transition. Okay, so I take this question very, very seriously. I'll give you the link. You can read that. But I take this question very seriously. I've been trying to pursue it in my own way for quite some time now. So I know there's good information out there about how to change. I mean, that's what personal growth is. That's what personal development is. And I was doing that for a long time here at these calls. So
Yeah, I agree with everything that's on that list.
it's very difficult, and I'm standing by that 98%. 98% of people get to whatever level they get to at age 21, and that's it for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes I like to play. Sometimes I just lean in the pessimistic direction and say I think you're being generous. You know.
God, yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I might be. I might be.
No, well, that's why they got the saying, everything I needed to know I learned in kindergarten, you know? So
it might be less than 2% who can change, but God bless them if that they can.
Well, so
God bless everybody who does, who really puts the Aristic agon to practice in their world.
Wait, Aristic as in like Eris of discord, or Eris as in wisdom?
Aristic.
Yeah. Aristic, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's Aristic, like Discordian or whatever. Anyways, I didn't know. Well, they're both whatever. Anyways, we'll see. So that's why I say if I had my way, I would be an absolute monarch or a totalitarian.
Yeah.
If I'm going to help people change get the most out of themselves in this life, like, you got to be able to control the whole environment. Well, because legally, not being a totalitarian, I am denied the legal permission to employ all of the means that could, like, because I'm not a positive reinforcement only kind of guy, you know. I do think it's necessary and important. If I feel like if you don't have all 4 of those quadrants of operant conditioning running, you're not getting the optimum amount of conditioning out of whatever, yourself or someone else or an animal or something. No, you need positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, negative punishment. You know, you have to be able to, we can legally positively reinforce people and negatively reinforce them, and we can negatively punish them, but unless they're your kid and you're not leaving marks on them, you can't, you know what I mean? Like, you can't just assault people, even though I take the chance occasionally. But that's just me. You get what I'm saying? Without the ability to, for someone like me, I'm willing to risk the night in jail for the experience, the notch on the belt, you know, like, fuck, if I'm going to repeat this life over and over, it's going to be one where I deck a guy who fucking doesn't have manners, you know? And just because I'm willing to take that risk doesn't mean I do that every time I have an opportunity to. I think of it like smoking weed, you know? It's illegal, but I can get away with it, and I don't think it's that bad, you know? But so as long as I can get away with it, I'm not going to do it in front of a cop. Anyways, so that's why I'm saying I think if you've got all 4 of those quadrants at your disposal, well, then you have a total environment, at least somewhere, you know? Like if you've got like your own little lab rat, you know, cage set up in your garage, and you've got your own little private laboratory, you've got a total environment to do whatever the fuck you want to change those rats in any way you can imagine. You know, it's a lot easier to train one to go through a maze to get the cheese. It's a lot harder and probably impossible to condition one to go through a maze backwards. So some changes aren't necessarily possible or desirable. You know what I mean? So yeah, we're talking about a lot. This is really important to me too, you know, because we're talking about, I mean, if you're ever going to convince someone else of anything, even if it's just changing their ideas to some degree, it's a form of change. You know, you might not be winning converts to your cult or anything, but you know, that are willing to die for you or whatnot. But all levels of change are meaningful when it comes to like one's own skill set and getting the important stuff out of life. No, it's so like I was saying, I think like my cat is she's blind and she's senile. I've told you about her. She's gonna die any day now. You know, she's just so old. She's a fucking fossil, right? She still learns a little bit. We changed the furniture around on her. She's blind. She still knows how to. She's still got some kind of coordination going on. If we, you know, if we put her bed somewhere else, she will learn that her bed is there, even though she's so old and her brain is fucking calcified already. There's still a little bit of play. There's still a little bit of juiciness left in it. So I think that it's possible for anyone to make at least some small change, but I'm not necessarily qualifying that change as being a meaningful kind when it comes to say like your values or your ideas or how you your outlook, you know. But so you mentioned well, you mentioned meditation, and here's the thing. So I do think the one key is that people aren't going to change it unless it's in their self-interest, unless they think what they're doing is in their interests. So in a totalitarian respect, that means, yeah, if I trap you in a corner and you're not going to get any food unless you jump through the hoop, right?
Mm.
Yeah. If it's in your interest to eat, you're going to do it. So that's why I'm saying a total environment just, it gets a lot of barriers out of the way. Not having a total environment, you have to be able to dangle the right carrot in front of a person. If it isn't an appealing carrot to them, they're just not going to do it, you know? And if you're going to say, hey, you're morally inferior or you could be doing things better, well, a lot of people are just going to say, that's annoying to hear. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk away, you know? I mean, without legal authority to trap them in a corner or whatever and condition them. It's about dangling the right carrot. And the thing is I do agree that meditation is self because I've got problems with the word meditation because I think just not that you share these stereotypes, but it's the reason why I don't often refer to meditation. But the self-analysis, the self-awareness in particular, if you can watch your own thoughts and say, why the fuck am I thinking that? If I keep thinking that, it's just going to upset me and it's not going to do any good. There's no light at the end of that tunnel. I'm going to let that thought go like a changing shape in a cloud and not get attached to it, you know? And
Right.
if the carrot you dangle in front of someone's face sounds appealing enough, you can make meditation sound appealing. But a lot of people don't want to go through the work of I'm going to sit here and think about myself. Like, you know, like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't necessarily get him to drink. You can drink some yourself, but that isn't necessarily a guarantee that they'll drink just because you're leading by example. No, this is why I'm of the very strong and like experientially informed opinion. You have to dunk them in the water and they will either sink or swim. You know, you have to force the green eggs and ham down their throat, and then they will taste and see that the Lord is good. You know,
Chris, I'll repeat what I just said. We don't know. We don't know what makes people change. We don't know.
Well,
We don't know.
Well, I said it from personal experience.
We don't know what reliably can be counted on to make people change.
Like I said, if you can employ all means, you can make someone change.
I think we
Like,
can increase
okay,
that
okay.
30% quite a
No,
bit.
you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Because I even said earlier, there are those exceptional few, the Christians that allowed themselves to be eaten by lions in front of the Romans. They probably wouldn't fall for any of that. No, I do. So that's one of the angles I was agreeing with you, that I do think the more you know about someone's model of reality, the more you're going to be able to give them the right carrot, because everyone's got a carrot. I mean, fuck. Sorry, maybe not everyone. See, this is where, well. So if we're talking about reliably changing people,
And that's where spiral dynamics comes in. If you know what level you're dealing with, you know how to talk to them.
well, so there's a there there are some people that don't need to change. God. So I was thinking, look, there's weird stoic people. There's people with fucking some weird perverse model of reality that whatever you say isn't going to convince them to change for the better. But God, the person I'm thinking of,
Yeah.
I want to find it. It was a cute story about Alexander the Great going and finding a sadhu for the first time. I think it was a sadhu, or maybe it was the.
Well, you only need to change if there's something in your life that's causing you problems. And if nothing's causing you problems, then yeah, don't change. But if everything's working well on all cylinders, yeah, that's great. But how many people can say that?
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, the only one example I could think of that I thought, that person doesn't have any room for improvement according to my values, and it was this guy. I'm looking for the story because I'm sick of ruining stories that I like telling a bad joke or something. You know how if you could get the delivery right or whatever. So, anyways, here we go. Here, you mind if I read you this little bit?
Okay, sure.
It's a couple paragraphs. It's a cute little story about Alexander the Great. So, Asanyasin, a mystic by the name of Dandamis, existed in the days of Alexander, in the days when Alexander was in India. Friends had told Alexander when he was leaving for India that when he came back he should bring Asanyasin, because that rare flower flowered only in India. They said, "We would like to see the phenomenon of sannyas, what it is, what exactly a sannyasin is." He was so engaged in war and struggle and fight that he almost forgot about it, but when he was going back just on the boundary of India, he suddenly remembered. He was leaving the last village, so he asked his soldiers to go into the village and inquire if there was a sannyasin around there somewhere. By accident, Dandamis was there in the village, by the riverside, and the people said, "You have come at the right time. There are many sannyasins, but a real sannyasin is always rare, and he is here now. You can have darshan. You can go and visit him." Alexander laughed.
Yeah, your internet broke up.
He said, "I'm not here to have darshan." Mike could not believe it. What difficulty could there be? He conquered emperors, great kings, so with a beggar, a river. They said, "Alexander the Great invites you to accompany him to his country. All comforts whatsoever you need will be provided. You will be a royal guest." The naked fakir laughed and said, "You go and tell your master that moves like a cloud in total freedom. I'm not enslaved to anybody." They said, "You must have heard about Alexander. He's a dangerous man. If you say no to him, he won't listen. He will simply cut your head off." Alexander had to go because the soldier said, "He is a rare man. Loom in his presence that he is naked. Later on, you remember. He is so powerful that in his presence you simply forget the whole world. He is magnetic, and a great silence surrounds him. The whole area feels the man. He is worth seeing, but there seems to be trouble ahead for him. The poor man, because he says that take him anywhere, that he is nobody. Alexander went to see him with a naked sword in his hand. Don Demis laughed and said, "Put down your sword. It is useless here. Put it back in the sheath. It is useless here because you can only cut my body, and that I have left long ago. Your sword cannot cut me, so put it back. Don't be childish." And it was said that this was the first time Alexander followed somebody else's order. Just because of the very presence of the man, he couldn't remember who he was. He put his sword back in the sheath and said, "I've never come across such a beautiful man." And when he was back in his camp, he said, "It is difficult to kill a man who's ready to die. It is meaningless to kill him. You can kill a person who fights. Then there's some meaning in killing. But you can't kill a man who's ready and who's saying, 'This is my head, you can cut it off.'" So, and Dandamus actually said, "This is my head, you can cut it off. When the head falls, you will see it falling on the sand, and I will also see it falling on the sand, because I am not my body. I am a witness." Anyways, that was the gist of it. But basically, he's the example of some. I didn't meet him. I don't know if he really existed, but not only I wouldn't know why I don't know what a guy like that would need to be changed about, So the kind of people who don't is they would be doing better off if they changed themselves. Yeah.
Audio's going in and out.
You know what I'm saying? Wait, what did that say? Oh.
Yeah, it's your connection is going in and out. I'm sorry.
Is it mine?
Well,
yeah. Well,
yeah, it's really bad.
Well, I just think there's two kinds of people that could you now? Can you hear me at all?
Well, I heard you say that, but yeah, it just stops every once in a while. Yeah. Yeah.
Say something if you can hear me. Okay.
I can
I don't know. I've got all my.
That's strange because it was good for a long time, but now it's just starting.
My Wi-Fi.
Starting and stopping.
Well, I know my family's not doing anything with the internet. Oh, well, I hope it gets better.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
I think it should be okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I looked it up and I'm reading it now, actually.
Yeah. Well, what are you reading?
Yeah, I saw it. I found it on Osho.com, actually.
Oh, Osho, yeah. Yeah, he's an interesting guy.
Put it back in the sheath.
Yeah,
I get that. Did you ever see? Well, did you read or see V for Vendetta?
Both.
Yeah, if you're not afraid to die, then we can't keep you here any longer. You're free to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just because you're not afraid to die. So here's the thing: that guy wasn't afraid to die, but
right.
He seemed to be no harm to anyone or anything in the meaningful senses of the word. You know what I mean? So now imagine a psychopath who's not afraid of dying. Right? He's someone you would want to change that probably doesn't want to change and probably isn't susceptible to the total means one could have at one's disposal to change them, So I think within legal bounds, it's important to get to know someone, to know what they value, that if they want something better, you can say, hey, here's a tasty carrot.
Ken Wilber talks about there needs to be a conveyor belt. We need to construct a conveyor belt, a way of moving people upwards, and we just don't have that yet.
So I don't think everyone is capable of moving upwards.
That's
and I
probably
don't
true.
do what?
That's probably true.
And I think for the people capable of moving upwards, that it's like needing to swim, that you're not going to learn unless you're dunked in the water, you know? So I feel like a lot of people who have potential never had their initiation where they were dunked in the water, you know?
Mm.
And even then, just because someone's taken steps on the path doesn't mean, you know, there's more initiations you can do. Not everyone can go through as many, you know? Like, I don't think I've got too many left in my life, you know? I want to try to get them in while I feel like I've got the opportunity, because I feel like, I don't know, after probably 55 or so, I'm not going to really want to do too much more learning. It's going to be, I feel like it's going to be harder, and I just won't retain stuff just from the people I know and I meet and talk to. Like, I mean, like we were saying earlier, I feel like most people are kind of set in their ways by kindergarten. So, but so while I'm a mostly law-abiding citizen, yeah, I've got to go the slow, plodding path of getting to know people and seeing if we've got common values, and if we do, you know, showing them something that's a value to me, that's valuable to them, and getting them to go a little bit farther along the way that I feel like they might enjoy better because I have. Then there's the other kinds of people that, yeah, we might have something in common. Like, I'm sure if I dug real hard, I could find something in common with JP. But how many hours of conversation getting to know him and trying to convince him? I think it would take a few days, like basically like nonstop. Like, we're talking to each other from, you know, sunrise to sunset. I can imagine him having a couple, oh my God, I never thought of things that way. Is it worth it to me? No. It would be much easier for me if I had all means at my disposal to say, listen, I've got you in a box and you need to change your ways or else you're not going to eat. It's just.
Right.
And really, it's only for people that I feel like, I don't really care if someone, for someone that I don't have to be around all the time, I don't really care if they could be happier. Like, I care about people's happiness to the extent that I don't want to be around miserable people, you know? I don't want to, they're just unpleasant. It's like moods are contagious, and just if you're around a bunch of defeatists and parasites for too long, it wears on you. You start to you start to pick up some of the fuck it, you know? It's shitty being here with you shitty people. And anyways, so it's the people that I feel like are more pleasant to me, that already have enough of a common foundation with me conceptually, that it's worth bridging those other gaps, and also trying to say, hey, you know, I think you are on a higher level in one arena than me. I want to see what, you know, goodies and instruction manuals and activities can get me closer in that direction. If I feel like I've got some insights that others are lacking, I want to say, hey, well, if you're into that, you would probably be into this, you know? But it really would just be much simpler to say, stop, or else you're not going to eat. Or you'll get hit again. All right, you'll get the hose again. You know, it does what it's told. It puts the lotion on its skin. Sorry, it was going there. I had to say it.
Mm. I thought about getting a degree in psych and actually going further and getting a master's and becoming a counselor. Didn't do it because I realized that would just listening to people's problems all day would just drive me nuts. By the way, we were at 4 o'clock was our start time. I don't know what you were looking at, but it's 4 o'clock now, and we've got Rem.
Okay.
Somebody named
Yeah.
Steven.
Yeah, so I thought it was at 5 my time. It's 6 for me now, and I was wrong, and so I came in late because I checked in early. I thought,
but no, it's at 4 for.
Good morning, guys. Oh, good evening. Sorry.
Hi, Rem.
Hey, hi, Chris. Hi, David.
Hey, Stephen.
Stephen. Hey, Stephen there.
Oh, it is Stephen. That's the Stephen it is. Okay, good.
Oh, there's a movie group on today, I think. Was it Blue or a movie
Perfect
called
Blue? Have you seen it?
No. Matalia seemed a bit interested in it, but, so I said that I haven't seen it. So.
Yeah, it'll be in 3 hours from right now. I saw it 2 days ago. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if because I looked it up on my Google search when you'd mentioned it at that movie talk.
Perfect Blue.
Yeah, I don't know if the tech companies are in league, but somehow it popped up on my YouTube as a recommended thing. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. They have movies that you have to pay for or free for ads or something like that. I don't know, but yeah.
That's right.
I just download everything.
All right. An anime.
It's interesting. It's a kind of a psychological thriller type of thing. It's an interesting movie. Should be an interesting conversation.
Well, if I start watching it now, I'll have a half hour to think about it before we, if I went to it.
I think there's only like 6 people RSVP'd. I don't know. Shauna's not coming and Trish isn't coming, looks like. So I don't know. But, it's good to just hang out and chat. Like our graphic novel group, right, Stephen? We just hang out and chat.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk about the book or the movie.
So, Stephen, how did you find the conversation in Monday on A Good Life? Was it Monday? I can't remember what day it was.
Yeah, interesting in a way, but the humanists are a pretty weak bunch. Really weak in thought. I mean, they're dreamers, incredible dreamers.
What I find
I'll give you an idea that they seem to be trying to create some sort of religion as a basis for their morality. And Nietzsche's already cut the ropes on that one a long time ago. But see, did you see what this huge overarching mistake they're always making?
No, tell me.
You don't see that.
I can, but I just wanted to hear from you. I have my view, but
you tell me what do you think is their big mistake?
Well, I
goodness.
I think it's an issue that I'm struggling with in many conversations, and I've sort of found myself in a corner.
Did you say the word goodness? Did you?
The goodness of human beings, the inherent goodness of humans.
I think a trap in a lot of philosophical conversations is when one has a conversation around semantics, about words, and we just because there's 176,000 words in English language doesn't mean that they all.
You don't have to spend the next half hour with the oratory. Just what's your point?
Well, I think you're creating a religion of another guise. In the example of the humanist society, is you get a feeling like they're reformed Christians, and they've got a framework in place, and they're just transposing it into another guise. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Excuse me for complaining about the oratory. You're not bad, but you know the end of the world's next week, and you know we've got a lot of things to get done before the end of the world.
I have nothing to get done. I'm not sure what you're trying to tell me. Too many words.
The world's ending. But anyway, David's made the very good point, which I've said a few times, that the humanists will always, you know, the meter's always going to shift. Sometimes they'll deny it, but they're saying that, well, basically humanity is good, you know. And I claim that really your moral characteristic of your culture is a product of training. People are going to be good when things are easy, but watch out when things get tough. Their behaviour changes. But no, there's a point with the humanists I'll make there. Yeah, they got this idea that man is intrinsically good, but there's another angle there. Yeah, you see these. You see all the Mouseketeers there. Would that'd probably sum up a few crowds you've seen, haven't you, David? The Mouseketeers. I mean, even we're there. You know, give me a Mickey Mouse hat. What's the Mouseketeer summing up in your head? What's that? Simple-minded.
Simple-minded.
It's childish.
Okay.
You know, how the children think. Children are very idealistic. They haven't had the world slapped them in the face that much yet.
Well, the way I've been describing, I've been recently trying to come out of the closet of being an anti-humanist, because so many people just don't consider that. Oh my God, it's an ideology that I do think does border on being a kind of secular religion. I think a lot of the people who didn't want to go to church but still wanted to get along with their Christian friends just said, "Oh no, well, whatever." The thing that I think my biggest criticism is that I think it's just based on sentimentalism, naivety. That I think the word nice applies to it. And I don't like the word nice. It's a 4-letter word, and it comes from the root nescience, which is the opposite of omniscience and lower than science. So nice. Humanists are nice, and they're naive and sentimental. That's my.
All right, let's take their most hated book, the Bible. Pretend I've got the Bible here. Now, whatever you think of it, it's a real document. Yeah, it was created in history. What's the Bible about?
It was a tribe's codified religion. It's taboos.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, one thing it's about God, but the other aspect it's about the people. And what's the aim of the Bible in relation to its people?
Well, it's for the people and not for others. It's for the chosen people.
Oh well. I think you know the others got in on the act as well, but this is just one document. It's probably the best example, but would I be incorrect to say the Bible is about being good? It's about a morality, whether you agree with that morality or not. Would you say that that's the case? It's about being good.
Well, for me, so I call myself an amoralist a lot, because I say I don't need morals, I've got rules. But rules, that's what moralities are. And another way of saying a rule is a taboo.
Well, we're talking about humanity as a generality here.
Well, you brought something
not just you.
Well, we brought up the Bible, which is specific. So a good Jew reads the Torah. So it doesn't define non-Jews as being bad for not reading the Torah. They'll
Okay, I'll make it really easy. What's the Bible say about being good? You remember, a very big book, very long, centuries and centuries and centuries of BS. You know, what's it say about the act of being good? What is the message there that they're trying to tell people about being good?
Oh, obey the rules.
Yeah, but well, you'd have a very simple book if it was just obey the rules. These are the rules. You'd have it like one of your American newspapers about Donald Trump. They'll say that Trump is this, no argumentation. The ABC, Trump is evil, Trump is that, Trump. It sounds like Chinese Communist Party propaganda.
All right.
Oh, look, very big book. It's about people trying to be good. What does that say? It's saying it's a long story of people trying to be good, and trying to be good ain't easy. That's what the Bible's telling you. Is Joe, what's his face, trying to be good, and he had so many fuck ups. Some fucked up completely. Some were forgiven. Blah 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 blah. And what are the humanists doing in their Musketeer act? Oh, it's all really easy. Well, I'm afraid if you don't disagree with the Bible here, it's got history here. It's warning you when it comes to following the moral code with a whole people, it ain't easy, whether you agree with that moral code or not. They don't work that out. They think it's their idea that people are inherently virtuous. Got the Musketeer hat on. Oh, yeah, it's really easy. They've just been turning the wrong crank. You push the green button instead of the red button. Very mechanistic outlook, simple-minded. It's amazing that they cannot see past themselves.
It's a good
well,
thing.
That's one interpretation, Stephen. Another one might be along the lines of Yuval Harari. So, you guys read *Sapiens*? No. Yuval Harari's written 3 books, and it's been extremely popular. I think he sold tens of millions of copies. But in his first book, *Sapiens*, he talks about the thing that distinguishes us from apes and chimpanzees is that we create fictions and believe those fictions, and those fictions enable us to cooperate. And so basically, he says, Homo sapiens is a quote. Okay, Homo sapiens is a post-truth species, and their power depends on creating and believing fictions. So I would suggest that what you're talking about, the Bible there, Stephen, about being goodness, I think it's actually about bonding, about creating a community of people that cooperate. And I think that's the thing that continues to roll on. And it's a very important point. I mean, when, what's his name? A mental block. Baruch Spinoza, he wrote a critique of the Jewish religion. And when he was in Amsterdam, he got evicted by the Jews because he pissed them off. He was factually correct, but what he didn't acknowledge, and what they're now saying about his critiques of religion, is that there's more to religion than just what you're actually believing in. It is the community, it's the bonding, it's the going to the mosque or to the church. It's the fellowship that it provides. And that's an important thing to get. It's the perverse. If you're going to be talking about goodness in that line, you're missing the point.
I've missed the point of the Bible entirely. Cool.
No, I'm just putting a proposal to you. You put a very strong proposal to you, Stephen, to us, and I'm putting one back to you. There's a perverse.
I'm saying that religion isn't about being social.
No, I'm not saying that either.
I'm talking about a specific case. I've got all these humanist whack jobs cracking up about how they're going to be moral and how they're going to be good and what goodness is. And the attitude I'm picking up, well, it's sort of easy, really. You just have to, crank the right little lever. And the whole problem is all through the past have been cranking the wrong lever, you see. They've been pushing the red button instead of the green button. No, it's nonsense.
So I have a different critique of humanism, which I think is related to kind of the direction I was going in talking about the Bible. So to me, the Bible, and I don't know if I've said it to y'all, Rem and Steve, that I'm Jewish. So I can critique the Jews with scot-free from being blamed of being an anti-Semite. So anyways, It's a xenophobic book. It's a in-group based book. It's for the people, which are the chosen people. Almost every tribe around the world, if you ask them what their name is, the name of the tribe we call them is usually their word for people, because the others aren't people. They're the others. And so a lot of people don't know, like the Goyim, the Gentiles, the non-Jews are supposed to be treated as animals because they're not people. They haven't been chosen by God to be chief among the nations. So this is why there's no contradiction when people say,
just excuse me, David, you got a link for The Perfect Blue. Was that yesterday or was it today?
That'll be in 2 hours and 45 minutes from right now.
Oh, right. Yeah, I couldn't find the link on your meetup page anymore.
But you have to go to the Edmonton group. But I'll once I'm in, I'll give you the Zoom link.
Oh, right. You haven't got the advertisement for their page, have you?
I can give you the page and you can join the group. Sure, I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, you good? So, the understanding the nomenclature behind you, thou shalt not kill, all of a sudden makes sense when people say, well, how did the Jews say, oh, well, we're going to go to this nation and stamp them out for their wicked pagan ways or whatever, if they said thou shalt not kill? Because they weren't killing people. They weren't killing Jews. They're cleaning house with the Goyim that belonged to them because God gave the world to the Jews. Anyways, this also solves the riddle of where did Adam and Eve's children get their spouses from? They were converted from being just animals to people. So there's always this element of pseudo-speciation when it comes to making an in-group. There's us and there's them. Now, the way I say that I've got rules, but I don't have morals. If I were to come up with a set of rules with all of y'all and y'all were to agree to them, then we've got expectations of each other. And then we can start arguing that our code of conduct, our rules that we live by, are morality. Because then I can legitimately say, you told me one thing, that you were going to follow this rule, and now you're not. You're a piece of shit for getting my expectations up and betraying them. And that's the beginning of morality. It's having rules, which has everything to do with being in an in-group, which is what most people, when they flout their morality, is what they're doing. They're saying, oh, are you one of me? Do you believe in the risen Lord Jesus, our Savior, who died for our sins? Do you believe Allah or whatever? Whatever. Every in-group, by displaying their morality, is saying, hey, these are my colors. This is my tribe. Are you one of me? And most people usually don't like talking to people they don't think are part of their own tribe. Now, how this relates to humanism, I think humanism is dangerous because it teaches people, it teaches individuals that they are part of this huge in-group called humanity, which includes every Homo sapien on the planet, regardless of whether they've got intrinsic worth or goodness or any of that. It's dangerous to start treating strangers that aren't part of your in-group as if they were part of your in-group when they haven't proven themselves to be of the same code of conduct, of the same set of rules. Because then you start to have the tragedy of the commons. If you start inviting people into your fishing pond and they don't agree to abide by the rules of not overfishing the pond, they are going to be immoral people parasitizing you because they're not one of you. They're not on the same page. So the problem is on a global scale, when one country is predominated by humanist thinkers and they think, oh, well, we need to care about everyone around the world, where a lot of places, and arguably the majority of places around the world, say, no, you're not one of us. We're not going to just let you come in. You're just because you're human doesn't mean you're Islamic or a communist or whatever kind of screening process a nation or people or whatever might have. So to me, it's dangerous because it makes people start walking around saying, oh, I expect you to be just like me and have the same values as me. And you're just making a bunch of suckers, a bunch of marks for people.
So, Christopher, are you agreeing with me then? That has nothing to do with the goodness, it's nothing to do with the words, it's nothing to do with the agenda, nothing to do with what's written in the book. It's all about bonding and bonding on a common theme. Because that to me is what I take it to be, because I hear everywhere I go the same sort of underlying agenda of and a sensitivity towards numbers. And if you come in the minority, you're immediately and easily discredited. It's about grouping, and whether it's be humanism or religious bases or whatever. You look at the QAnon. I mean, QAnon is a classic example.
Yeah,
QAnon is bonded on baseless bullshit, and yet they bond. Why? Because it provides a community. They get esteem, they get fellowship.
But that's what I'm saying the danger of humanism is. It doesn't actually give you a community. If you were to read the Bible and follow the words of the Bible and meet other people that read the Bible and follow and try their best to follow the words of the Bible to be a good person or whatever, yeah, they do have something to bond over, and it's codified. They can say, oh, are you acting out of line? Are you a good person? Are we bonding correctly? I don't know. Let's look at the book. We've got a couple thousand years of how to deal with stuff, which I think most of it's obsolete personally, but people are still reading it. People are still pumping it out. I do think there are communities that are centered around it, but just that's not the kind of community I want. So like, one of the reasons I don't like humanism as a kind of morality or as a kind of secular religion is say I like y'all, which I do. Each one of y'all that are in this group right now, I've talked to at least once before, and I've enjoyed y'all. I like y'all. I like y'all personally. I don't like you because I'm supposed to, because you're a human. I like you as an individual because of the interactions and the experience that I've had with you. The second I were to say, I like you because I'm a good Christian and I'm supposed to, do I really like you? No, you're just some dummy cardboard placeholder. You could be anyone. I'm supposed to care about you. You're a human. And it takes all the value out of any kind of potential for real community, in my opinion.
But there's nothing you said there, Chris, that rejects what I just said. I said they're bonding around a credos. They're bonding together. They're humanists. They put a like implicitly, that's what it's about.
Well, I wasn't trying to reject what you were saying. I was just trying to I agree with you. I lean a little bit in the direction I spelled out. But when it comes to criticizing humanism in particular, I do think it's easy for people to think they've got a false and inauthentic sense of community by saying, oh, you're a humanist too? Oh, well, we can talk about all the things that we share in common. But really, it's mediated by this ideology that really has nothing to do with the actual interactions and behavior of the two people. It's this screen of ideas that doesn't allow two individuals to interact honestly, I think. And I think it goes the same for the Bible as well. Just, I think that's a bit more of a concrete religion or community than humanism, and whatever. We could argue the merits of them, but yeah, I think it's naive and sentimental and dangerous to people who abide by humanism, and also you're not really making friends with them. You're making friends with humanism, To
me, I think I have a growing problem, and it's me. And my problem is that I find myself increasingly in the minority. I find myself increasingly standing aside and where people are looking at me askew. And I find that rather worrying. And, that's why I wanted to come up and have a conversation. I didn't want to have a conversation about me. It's about a conversation about populism, because implicitly what's going on in this world increasingly is this need to bond, and people will bond around anything at all, but they will bond. Would it be humanism or QAnon? And I mean, for me, they're much the same. They'll take any excuse to bond. If you come up with some minority view or come up with a different, and you haven't got the support, you're pushed aside. Whether it be Nietzsche or whether it be Van Gogh, these are people that were not really recognized in their lifetime. They're minority people. I get a sense that Stephen is a bit of I don't know Stephen well enough, but I get a bit of a sense that he's an individual thinker too. And I think it's, in a way, it's great, but it's also can be very isolationist, because people are always looking to bond at any pretext.
Well, I think who think for themselves and actually try to share their knowledge with others sacrifice being loud for, you know, going up the mountain.
Going up the mountain.
And coming back with, you know, the upgrade. So, no, I think it's a sacrifice hard for think for myself, and I don't have very many friends who don't. Who think. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Not
you're
on the mic,
breaking
y'all can hear me.
Bit of internet.
Yeah, I see that. I'm sorry.
Mm.
Yeah, every few minutes it keeps saying I have an unstable connection.
Mm.
So,
Well, I was actually told that
you know,
as
you know what I'm
regards
saying, Rem?
religion. What you were saying, Remco, I was told that I'm going to take him down the rabbit hole in a past life by, you know, a high priestess of religion. I said, what's all this stuff for? She says, to keep people social. She said, human beings don't really like each other, you know.
Mm. Mm.
Well, Eric Barron in Games People Play, he talks about a psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever, was because his driving question was, why do people talk to each other? Why do they talk to each other? I don't know. I'm convinced that it's intrinsically rewarding, that we're playing verbal games with each other. Can y'all hear me? Say something if y'all can hear me. I'm cutting out completely, aren't I?
Yeah. You come over clear. Keep going. Play games with each other, yeah?
I can hear.
Okay.
Well, excuse me, I've got another appointment on the astral plane, so I'll have to fly away. Nice seeing you.
All right.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I don't know. As I say, I've got an underlying growing discomfort, and I'd just love to bounce it off you guys, because is that we're getting ourselves caught up with a lot of detail and losing the bigger picture, and that's what I was trying to say, that the need for bonding overarches the feeling of being your own self, and specialization has been another scourge in society, becoming so specialized that we're unable to see the bigger picture, and I find that rather distressing. And I guess I was quite affected by reading Ian McGilchrist, The Master and the Emissary, and how there's been swings over the millennia between left and right brain domination. And, you know, that's just a metaphor for being focused or being more generalist. But yeah, I just listen to a lot of the conversations go on in these groups, and I think, oh, guys, you're all caught up with words. Are they real? Are we just having a conversation around the meaning of a word? Is the word real? Does it have any relevance, really? You know, what is a good life? A good life, what's that? I mean, it's a happy life, a good life, a satisfying life, a meaningful life. It's all bullshit. It's all a matter of judgment. In the end, in 5 billion years, the Earth is going to be absorbed by the sun. There is no meaning in this world, in my view. Get on and have a life. Get out there. I don't know. I don't know whether I'm making sense to you, but it's like I listened to a TED talk, and there was a PhD in psychology talking about 21 versions of happiness. They were able to identify 25 forms of what gives people happiness, and she made quite a thesis of it. One of the more popular TED talks. And I thought, this is bullshit. You know, I just listened to it. And I thought, crap. For starters, I don't recognize happiness. I say there is no such thing as happiness. Happiness is a natural state. It's your natural state. It's who you are. And if you're not feeling happy, then there's some fear thing there. Happiness is your platform, just like it's who you are. It's who Christopher is. Christopher is naturally happy. David is naturally happy. But on that stage plays fears. And you have various fears playing out. And so when you say, oh, you know, what I just said earlier about the different forms of happiness or having a good life, it's all bullshit. I don't know. I'm a reductionist. I guess I've been swayed by Nisargadatta Maharaj. He's very much an individualist, you know, and he says, you don't come into the world, you come out of the world. And it makes a distinct difference that you are the world. You take ownership of the world. It's yours. It's your experience. I don't know when I'm rambling here, and you could reasonably say this guy's lost the plot. But I don't know. I just listen to a lot of these conversations. I don't want to participate anymore. I just think this is meaningless.
Well,
Jean Baudrillard.
So I heard a couple of contradictions, but I'll point this one out. So you talked about how we have a real need to bond, right? And that's important. And I agree with you. I mean, that's why I've explored the Zoom chats to talk to strangers, because I was looking for more people to bond with. But I also agree with you. Most people aren't worth listening. I don't like listening to most people, what they have to talk about.
I'll be back. Just hold on a second. I made you the host, but I will be back.
Okay, like soon? Because in about 20 minutes, I was going to go.
Okay, 20 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
So you said, if you're going to, I have a need for bonding. And yeah, I don't think a person can be healthy and happy or whatever, live the good life, without at least a friend or two, you know? It's how are we supposed to bond if we're not bonding with our words? Like, we're not in person, so I can't just say, you know what, let's enjoy the silence and I'll give you a hug at the beginning and at the end of it, which I've done before, but I don't know. I've seen there's some like Buddhist meetings where they get online in the Zoom chats and they just sit there and they meditate, or they'll do a little they'll burn some sage and smudge the room, and they're doing it without talking, but they've got a sense of community with each other, and they're not talking a bunch of stuff. I look at it like when I take my dog on a walk, a lot of dogs are aggressive, you know, and the only way animals that can't talk get to know each other is sometimes there's the danger of, you know, miscommunication, one biting the other. And, you know, whenever my dog gets bitten, because he's not aggressive at all, whenever another dog like bites him or attacks him, the owner's always like, oh, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. And I say, no, don't worry about it. That's how dogs get to know each other, you know? And they say, what? And I'm saying, yeah, they fought once. That's how they said hi. Look, let them sniff now. And the second chance they get, they go, oh, okay. They've established some boundaries, you know? I think what humans do with our words is like that. That a lot of times, if we're strangers, if we don't already have all of the same words or live by the same book or whatever, if we're, especially amongst individual thinkers, if we're going to get to know each other, the bonding takes place through this battle of establishing the terms that we're using with each other. And then that's how you bond, in my opinion. So to me, the battle of the words is bonding, but some people aren't as pleasant to bond with as others, you know? So like, I'd rather bond with you and Stephen and David than say, I don't know if you were there on the last conference. Yeah, you were there with JP. Yeah, you were. I can bond with him, and I offered him the chance to. He didn't follow up on it. I'm not trying to bond with him. I feel like it would probably be more work than it's worth for me. And, you know, I'm glad I'm not a humanist, because I don't have to dedicate the waste of brain energy on him, you know. But you get what I'm saying? So the way you seem like you're tired of people talking. And
I personally don't aspire for friends. Let me just make it clear. I do not aspire for friends. Because what constitutes a friend in common society is a bonding based on some common interest or a common ego feature, or something where there's some complementation, or something about, words and attitudes and values and all of those sort of things. There's another type of relationship. And that's the relationship that I aspire for. And that's the one on ontology, your beingness. It's where there's nothing that can offend. You can say whatever you like. You are just you, and you may have different values, different ideas. That's okay, and that's a real true. To me, that's what a friend is. But I don't want to put a label of friend on it, because that immediately creates divisiveness. I just say, hey, that's a person I can connect with, you know. But the most common connection is the one of, you know, what I said is one on common hobbies, sports, interests, religions, or whatever it is. And I think it's like a helium. I don't know, you know, chemistry. In chemistry is a term called the van der Waals force. And helium, which is a unique atom, doesn't bond except when it's under some form of pressure or disturbance. And you get a disturbance, you get a dipole moment, and the helium then starts to bond. But it naturally just drifts apart without that van der Waals force, which is an induced polarity. You get a plus minus minus plus sort of bond. But there's also with relationships. That's what you call a friend in common society. I aspire just to be myself. I like to just be able to talk with you and just say whatever comes to me, and a contribution is not interpreted as being a criticism. It is just a contribution. And I think that's what to me, that's what life is about. That's what I aspire for. But that's very, very, very rare. There's very few people I can sort of talk openly with. I don't know whether that's your experience.
Well, so I've got two friends that I try to meet regularly in real life at a coffee shop. Since the pandemic started, both of them are older and they've got health issues, so they haven't been getting out as much. I used to be able to find them pretty much every weekend. Anyways, twice a month they get together on Sundays at this coffee shop, and if I'm up and available, I try to go hang out with them. With my friend Ben and my friend Ron, and I call it my Ben-Ron meeting. So when I hang out with him, Ben's been my best friend for over 15 years now. And we hung out with each other almost for a few years, almost every single day for hours, almost every single day, hanging out at this coffee shop, talking about everything and anything. Most of the time it was about spirituality. And the best times we had were moments of connection with, you know, where we both didn't have to say much after we got to that point where we both knew God was witnessing himself through his creations. You know what I mean? It was one of those beyond words. Right now, you know, God's using us to enjoy himself, you know? And I love him for that. I feel like that's close to what you're saying about just being your authentic self with someone. Now, when we talk, though, we've talked about a lot of things. I've accidentally talked to a girl that he was interested in, and I didn't realize I was perceived as like sexual competition with him. You know, we've disagreed on certain outlooks before, you know, like the last time I saw him, I told him I'm not a humanist, you know, and he went, no, well, you are a humanist. And he was like, you might be sometime. And he was trying to tell me like, you're a good person. Like, that's what he was really trying to say. And I was like, no, I really don't care about most people that I haven't met. Like, I don't know them. I don't lose sleep over, I'm not sitting around imagining people that I just don't know, you know? And so even though I have that kind of friendship and relationship with him, we still butt heads. Just we're different people. He's willing to get over that, you know. Ron,
so you got true friendship. You got what you call true friendship. True friendship is where you're just being two people and without criticism.
Yeah, well, it's like so Ron has known Ben as long as I have, but me and Ron haven't been friends that long. Me and Ron have only been friends for like this last year or so through Ben, but we're both just as good friends with him. And because he's as good friends with Ben, he's as good as a friend with me, just because I know Ben so well. I know this is a good guy. Now, the first time I met him, I tried to get to know him. And here's the thing. So you've heard me talk. I'm a little bit all over the place. You know, I'm a Jew, but I can talk about like the perks of Hitler, or, you know, I'm not, I don't consider myself like actively malicious, but I play with thoughts of depopulating the world, right? So I've got a lot of out there ideas. When I first met Ron, it was a delicate dance. It was like a foreplay, you know, like there was give and take and probing and prodding to see who we are. And I did come very close to him perceiving me as being a racist white supremacist. But I was lucky to see him starting to see that about me, and I let him know. I just think I just read and I look into all things, whether I believe in them or not. I try them on for myself. You know, I'm not, if someone's going to say I'm a this, I'm not going to say, oh, you're a that. I'm going to say, let me try thinking from that perspective. Hey, it's got some upsides and some downsides. So anyways, if I can have connection with him now, but it took a couple of times hanging out with him. And it was like negotiating these, setting the terms, understanding, I can trust you to play nice enough that I can let my guard down around you. And now we can just be and talk about whatever and not be offended. But there was a vulnerable time getting to know each other because we weren't. So you know what I'm saying? I think it's just like a difficulty of meeting strangers. There's bound to be a little bit of posturing at first that I think it's what you're talking about when most people talk about blah. It's all just blah. Well, some of the blah is like a necessary foreplay to the aha, you know? But I do think most blah is just blah. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, you know, if I could take a conversation back to where I started, I took part in a conversation where Stephen was also present, and it was that Humanist Society, and it was having a conversation around a good life. And I, you know, when it was my turn to say something, it was a group of about 20. I just felt this chill wind. You know, they couldn't answer my question, and I felt myself thinking, what the hell, what am I doing here? And you know, it was and that's a common feeling for me. I just thought, yeah, and I thought back to, there's a group here in Perth here that, you know, there's about 30 that meet regularly on a Sunday, in fact, every Sunday, quite a large number. And I used to attend frequently, and I've withdrawn. I can't connect with it anymore. And I asked myself, what is it? And I'm just trying to find a common theme. And you know, I just get it that people are, for me, I mean, I might sound haughty, but I just think people are getting caught up with a lot of debate without going deeper. And when you go deeper, a lot of these things just disappear and collapse. A lot of, just so much in life, the things that people put value and meaning on are just, you know, will o' the wisps, nothing, just, you know, just bullshit. Just like that lady that talked about the 21 forms of happiness, that PhD, and she got a standing applause, and I just listened to her and I thought, this is bullshit. I've lost the plot, Chris, and I need someone. Yeah, I said to my wife, and she, you know, she and I understand each other, and I'm sort of finding myself increasingly in a little bit of a corner, and you know, in life. And there's a few people that I value and cherish, but for the majority, I just think, oh, yeah, I'm not of this world anymore.
You know, I've lost my will for most human activity. I am still a creature though, and I still have my creatural drives. Pretty much everything I look forward to somehow I can rationalize it as well, I hope it'll get me laid. You know, or like I hope it'll, you know what I mean? Like not necessarily like this conversation, but really, this is like a sparring session in some sense. So when I go out into the world, I get to flex my verbal muscles, and you know, it'll be a display to figure out who are the quality girls out there. They're the ones that I want to party with. I don't know. It's just so the one thing that keeps me like I've heard it described a number of ways, but like one of our biggest drives is to be attractive. Whether you want to call that being a good person, you know, high status, you know, valuable, you know, sexually attractive, whatever. But just an attractive person, someone who looks like, yeah, I want to be. Everyone wants to feel that way, you know? And so, like, so my one, like, overarching goal that ties everything together is, I call it taking over the world and saving the world. Why? Because if I did that, God, it gives me so much motivation to, that's why I read all these books. I want to do my homework so I do it right. Don't make the same mistakes the other fuck-ups did in the past. And, you know, when I do, it'll be fun and I'll be real attractive. I'll get laid a lot. I'll be more powerful. I'll be able to push people around or whatever. Like, if there wasn't that kind of incentive to it, I don't know if I would just want to save the world just to save it. Like, I don't know if I could save the world, but that I had to do it without taking credit for it. I don't know if I would. Like, I think I'd say, fuck it, you know? And I like, and I've even said that before too to people, like, if you couldn't take credit for saving the world, most people I don't think would. Like, so
you're dealing with your conditioning, Christopher. You're dealing with your conditioning, and that's what you're programmed for, and maybe
well, technically the biological drives are the unconditioned responses. So I've come up with my own conditioning to sublimate them, channel them. But look, if I don't have that overarching goal, right, then I have what I call lately like dark Zen, because it's not Zen in the I care about all being sense. It's the Zen in the I'm here. I love it. And when I'm Zen and I just love it, there's nothing to do. Like Nirvana is boring. And I can go there, and sometimes if I go deeper down a rabbit hole and wind myself up, it's harder to get back than at other times, but I generally can come back to myself and say, all right, I needed this. I'm at one with the universe. What next? What next? So that's why I've gone through the what next so many times. I've had many more goals than taking over the world. You know, I wanted a cool car. I wanted to finish my tattoos. I mean, I still arguably have a lot of these goals, but they don't motivate me. What motivates me is this conversation is going to help give me the skills that when I go out next, I'm going to be that much more, you know, better at my next attempt at taking over the world. Like Pinky and the Brain, you know, what are we going to do tonight, Brain? Oh, the same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world. I don't know if y'all got that cartoon in Australia, but the Animaniacs.
Yeah. No, I just get it that, you know, life is totally meaningless, but we struggle to give meaning to things, because implicitly what it does is that it creates identity, it creates an ability to impress the other person, or some other sort of benchmark. Maybe it's your father, or whether it's something else. It's why I increasingly of the view that the world is a meaningless place. You don't have to engage it. And I think I read I think it was the Buddha that said it, but you know, the greatest contribution you can make to the world is to deal with yourself. That doesn't mean that you have to be totally a pudding either. I mean, I put 8 years of my life into working in India, largely remotely, but you know, I went to India twice a year, perhaps spending 6 to 8 weeks a year there. I mobilized, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of people over there. And when I was there in November, I got driven around with Prime Minister Modi's car with his flag. I mean, I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just making a statement. You can't, but I was having fun. I was making a contribution. No, I was just having fun. I enjoyed it. I love talking to audience, to schools that I've never done before in my life, where I've always had PowerPoints and I had a podium and my I was a respected authority in the chemical industry. Now I was just being me. That was my thing. So what I'm trying to say is you can still do all of these things that you aspire for, all the things that you just said, but you do it from the basis of just it just nurtured me. I was just having fun. I never gauged in terms of its contribution to me or to anybody. I was just having fun. And I think that's, to me, I think that's the great liberating place to be. But unfortunately, once you get to that realm, I find myself increasingly saying, I don't really want to participate in this conversation on these group of people. And my old friends have largely faded. And I can't be bothered. It's meaningless. I don't know whether I'm making any sense there, Chris, but.
No, it is. I mean, on some sense, it sounds like you're losing your drives, your incentive. I don't know.
No, I'm 100%, mate. I'm compared to most people of my age, I've got far more energy than they have. I'm always bountifully doing things and I jump out of bed in the morning. No, quite the contrary. But I'm not part of the common conversation of accumulating. I do not need to accumulate.
Well, okay. If it doesn't sound like you're possibly losing like your drives or your incentive or something, here, let me approach it from a different angle. Why are you letting stupid people bother you? If there's a stupid conversation going on right now, it's going to keep going on long after I'm gone, long after, on some other world where, the life takes the form of pink goo or whatever. I'm sure they're going to have plenty of stupid conversations. And even after they start sparking some, real insight, and God wakes up somewhere else in the universe, it's going to be surrounded by stupidity. It's just, and just stuff. So
why, Chris? To answer you, because basically I like to have people I can communicate with. I love being challenged. I have, as friends call me, a formidable mind. Some have said I know I've got a good mind, but I find most people just bore me shitless.
Okay. So I understand what you're saying. That's why I was saying, that's why I've been getting on the Zoom chats. These conversations aren't as boring as the conversations I could find at a bar or a coffee shop. I mean, occasionally, if you're lucky, a good one will pop up here or there. But I don't have a place. I don't have a church where I can go and find my people who talk about the stuff I want to talk about. The closest thing I've found to a church for people like me has been these Zoom talks where a bunch of individual weirdos that like talking about weird stuff are getting together. It seems like pretty regularly ever since the pandemic hit. So with a conversation with you or Steven or David and a handful of the other people that I've had a few interactions with already, that I trust y'all already, I'm going to have a good time. Like I see you, and I think, okay, it's going to be a pleasant conversation. If I were to see that JP character, I'd say, this probably isn't for me, and I don't really want to hang around here. Now, the format of these online meetings make it to where unless I'm the host and unless I'm trying to be rude, I'm not just going to mute someone or kick them out or get rid of them. But in person, in real life, and I mean, I've been getting practice with this from the Zoom chats too, because when you're in person, you feel there's a little bit more risk in what you might say or not. So it helped me rehearse talking to people that they can't hurt me, because you're just, you're not just, but you're just a face on a screen in some sense, even though I know you're more than that. But it gives me the freedom and the comfort the relative safety to say I'm not a humanist, and I have arguably some misanthropic notions, and and that I think about depopulation a lot, even though I'm probably not going to follow through with it. You know what I mean? Like, so practice doing that on here has given me the courage to start doing that in person. And I have practiced saying it, knowing there's nothing wrong with saying I'm just not a humanist. And I've already experienced, you don't just die when I say something that might be controversial. So someone in person isn't just going to die. Now, I have had enough experience deliberately being rude, trying to be offensive. Like, when in my glory alcoholic days, I literally would get drunk sometimes and walk around at some bar I've never been at before, flicking off everyone that I met. Anyone who made eye contact with me, just flicking me off. And then when they got offended, I'd say, fuck you, and see if I got kicked out of the bar for fun. Like, and so without going to that extreme, while trying to be myself authentically and not just trying to play with being an asshole, conversations like this have given me the courage lately to just tell people honestly, you're boring. Like, what's this have to do with anything? Like, so I don't know. Things become a lot more interesting. I don't know. Maybe I'm offering it as a possible suggestion. You might, maybe next time you get into a boring conversation, see what happens. Say, hey, you're boring.
What I'm hearing is that you're learning to discover your authenticity, Chris, to be authentic, just to be yourself. Look, if I were to, if I'm in the last quarter of life now, and if somebody were to say to me, well, what have you learned in life? I would say this, that I spent the first half of my life, a good half of my life, having an in order to life. Does that make sense? In order to. I did things sort of calculated and measured based on, and generally speaking, was based about accumulating money, because when I had more money, I would be able to do, other things. And I think, it means that I was inauthentic. I was inauthentic. I would have a conversation which would be measured, which would try to estimate what the impact would be on the other person. To be able to speak authentically, to speak what I believe or what I think that to me is the most powerful and nurturing place to be in life. But you've got to be able to do it. In my case, now that I'm retired, I can afford to do that more than I could in the past. If I wound the clock back, I would certainly be more authentic and connect with my authentic self.
Yeah. Well,
g'day, Martin.
Hey, Martin.
Hi.
No, I agree.
Hopefully, we're just having a bit of a rag chew here, and I always enjoy talking with Christopher. He's one of these authentic people, and he speaks his mind, and I enjoy that. And anyway,
well, I'm trying to get better at it, and but talking with you has been good practice to help me be authentic. But no, you can get into some good adventures just being honest and saying, hey, I find your boring stupidity offensive. Are you gonna like that? I don't know. Has been for me lately the beginning of an adventure. Like, you don't know what's gonna happen. And a lot of what you just said reminded me of the post you put on Facebook the other day. If you're looking for happiness somewhere else, you're never going to find it. It's always going to be somewhere else. You got to, I'm butchering the paraphrase, but when you can finally be happy with where you're at, where you are, that's the only happiness there is. It was great talking with you, Rem. I do got to go. I've been a couple minutes longer than I planned on it, but I'll talk to you. I'll talk to y'all again soon, and good.
Yeah,
Sorry to talk to you.
Good to have you here, Chris.
See y'all later.
Bye.
Hey, we've got Martin. Hey, Martin.
Hi.
You tried to come in like 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Tuesday. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I have a different. I have like a meetup with some coworkers.
It was the wrong time. I'm sorry. No, wait, what am I apologizing for? It wasn't my fault.
Yeah. No, I'm starting. I'm getting used. I mean,
I'm glad you're here, and I hope you can come back next week, because I'm afraid we're at the end here, unless Rem wants to host, because I do have to get going. But I am glad you're here. We hold these open forums to be able to interact with each other and just communicate and see what comes up, and good conversation about philosophy. And so I'm
Okay.
glad you're
Good, yeah.
here, and you too,
Yeah.
Pete. And I hope you can keep watching the calendar for us. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you, Martin.
Okay.
You're,
Okay.
you're interested in philosophy?
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of.
Did you major in philosophy?
No. My
What have
background
you
is
read? Who have you read? What do you like? Who are you
I'm
interested in?
I'm a scientist, but I started with physics and moved to biochemistry. But I'm generally philosophy was always kind of something I was looking into because I think it's related. I mean, it's similar. You ask similar questions as you ask with science with other methods, and so I never studied philosophy seriously, but I was reading on and off stuff. Yeah.
It's the most interesting subject there is. It's the most important subject there is. It's about asking, why are we here? What's the meaning? What's the purpose? How should we treat each other? How should we live? What's the meaning of, how do we be happy? What is ethics? What is morals? What is religion? All these great questions that mankind has been grappling with for thousands of years, and they're still very relevant today. And philosophy is the art of figuring out what's important, what's right, what's wrong, and philosophy is I think the most fun thing there is to read about and study about and certainly talk about. And so that's what I want this group to be about, is to learn, talk. And
thanks to Zoom and COVID, there's suddenly this new kind of way to do that, where you don't have to go to university and sign up and go to lectures and talk with people in your seminar.
Oh, there's like YouTube videos for online, and I think a lot of universities post their.
Oh yeah, I'm more interested in the conversations than in listening to lectures. I mean, I can read a book, but
you gotta have both.
Yeah,
gotta have both.
Yeah,
you gotta have both. Both. You gotta do the homework. Read the books. Read the authors. Put the information on a cognitive level into your skull. And also you have to have communication, have to have a cohort, have to have people to talk with. And you can't do one but not the other, because you're not going to get anywhere without that. Both of them.
There's one other thing too, David. There's one other thing you haven't mentioned, is that philosophy asks questions that can't be answered. And I love that. To be able to I grew up in science. I was, spent most of my life in engineering science, but it was always defined and predefined. I think what philosophy does, it gives you permission to ask the ridiculous questions. And it was David Hume that gave Einstein the freedom to question whether there is such a thing as cause and effect, and it gave him the freedom to explore relativity theory, and I think that liberated him.
Pete, did you want to say hello at all, or have you? I guess I haven't been here for a while. Oh, I'm glad you're here, Pete.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm glad. I can hear you. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I was just listening for about 30 minutes or something. I was just some interesting thoughts by the previous person. I think it was Christopher Robin or something. Yes, about I was just listening in about his thoughts on verbal.
Well, I'm glad you're here. This is a good forum to communicate. Rem's been here for about a month and a half now. He's been a regular. And we have many regulars here, right, Rem? Chris is a regular, and lots of people to talk with. And I've made some good friends here. So I welcome
Awesome. I love philosophy.
Pete and Martin. I'm glad you're here, and I hope you stick around. There's lots of stuff. Just keep checking the calendar.
Yeah,
but
I will.
But I'm afraid we have to end this for now, because I do have to get going.
Okay.
But this was a good chance to meet you guys and have a good conversation.
Okay.
So. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Okay.
And you too, Rem. It may not seem it sometimes, but no, you're good. Okay. Have a good day, Rem.
Okay.